guys, it is August the 28th, 2024, and I hope everybody's having a great day today so far. Today I want to talk about how to know if you are susceptible to having a problem with alcohol. And I've touched on this quite a few times in the past, but I figured I would just make a video about this today and just discuss it. There is a gentleman by the name of Jordan Peterson, and I'm sure that most people here are aware of that gentleman. He is all over YouTube. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast multiple times. He actually has his own podcast. I think it's called the Jordan Peterson Podcast. He's been on tons of shows. He's a controversial guy. He's a psychologist. He professor in Canada. I don't remember what school he teaches at, but very intelligent gentleman. And one of the things that I found very interesting in one of his talks one time was him discussing how to know if you are susceptible to alcoholism. And like I said, I've talked about this in the past before. Because what he talked about I found very, very, very interesting, because man, did I match up with what he was saying. And that's what I want to talk about today, is basically how to know if you are susceptible to alcoholism, and how you might be able to find that out. And it's pretty simple. So basically, alcohol works on our GABA system, and GABA is helps calm us down. Gets rid of our excitability, and that's one of the things that is attractive about alcohol, is that when we drink, it reduces anxiety, makes us feel more calm, just a sense of well-being, basically, is what we get from it. And for most people, that's what they get. But for the general population, alcohol is a depressant. So not only does it work on the GABA system, but it also is a CNS, it's a central nervous system depressant, and it will, for most people, it will make them tired and lethargic, and, once again, it'll make them have a sense of feeling of calm. The anxiety seems to just go away. But for most people, once again, it's a depressant, so it'll make them tired. It'll make them sleepy. It'll make them, just kind of just blah. That's why a lot of normal people, they have a couple drinks and they're done. They get that feeling that they're looking for or whatever, and they're over it at that point. But for people that are susceptible to alcoholism, something that Jordan Peterson talks about, and it is what he calls the opiate response in people that have a tendency to become alcoholics. And this is something that I definitely have or had when I was a drinker. Now, it wouldn't always stay this way for me, but it would often start this way for me. And I think it was one of the most attractive things about the alcohol that I found, is that what Jordan Peterson says is that if you're the type of person that when you drink, if you start to get excited, wound up, you become the life of the party all of a sudden when you drink, watch out. And this is definitely how I reacted to the alcohol. And like I said, I've spoken about this before, but when I would drink, I would get energy from it. And that's what he was saying. If you start to get a lot of energy when you drink, be careful. And another one of the things that he was saying is that if you want to find out if you're one of those types of people, he said, go to the bar and order 5 shots of liquor. He said you have to get above the legal BAC for you to be able to notice what's going on. But what he was saying is take 5 shots of liquor while you're at the bar and do it in a quick manner of time, within like 5 minutes or something. He said then wait 10 minutes and then take your pulse. So take your pulse before you take the shots, and then take your pulse after you take the shots. And he said that if you take your pulse after 10 minutes, if your pulse is up like 8 to 10 beats a minute or more, watch out. Because you are getting that opiate response from the alcohol. It has become dopaminergic at that point, and you are hitting the reward system. Once again, you are getting excitability from the alcohol. And that is like one of those things that, can really, really grab hold of you if that's the case. Just think about how we have the opioid crisis in America right now and why that is occurring. People, they have an accident, they get hurt, they have a surgery, whatever it may be. And, they get a prescription for opioids or whatever, and they start to take them, and they realize very quickly that all of a sudden they have a lot of energy. They have more pep in their step. Not only is it helping take away the pain, but it's also creating that dopaminergic effect in them, and they are getting a release of dopamine. They're getting excited. They're getting wound up. They feel a lot of energy. There's this feeling of well-being. They just feel good. And, that prescription that they were prescribed by their doctor for whatever the pain was, all of a sudden that turns into a problem because they want to continue to feel that way. And that's how a lot of, or most of, people who end up getting addicted to opioids is how it happens. It's not like they just went out searching for something out on the street. They got something that was legally prescribed to them by a doctor for an accident, a surgery, or whatever it is. And, the feeling that they got after taking them, made them want to take more. And, they become quickly addicted to that substance. And the same thing is happening with the alcohol. We're basically getting the same exact response from the alcohol that people get when they take opioids, because it is hitting on some of those receptors, just like the opioids would hit those receptors as well. And I think in certain individuals, it will hit those receptors more in people like me. It gets into those receptors more, and we get that excitability, that sense of well-being, a sense of just euphoria. And I've said this so many times, but I used to drink all day long. And when I would drink, especially when I was drinking beer, let's say it was a day when I had a bunch of yard work to get done. I would get up that morning, start drinking beer, and I would start to get that euphoria. I would start to get that energy. I could get up if I felt like I could take on the world when I drank. And it wasn't until I got completely intoxicated that, that I started to plummet down. I would get really sleepy, get really tired. And, that's when I would start slurring my words, bumping into walls, falling down. The things would start spinning and all that kind of stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about as far as that's concerned. But it always was when I got to a certain point that would start to happen. And, when I always talk about chasing the dragon, that's what I was chasing. I was chasing that euphoric feeling. I wanted that feeling of excitability. I wanted that energy that the alcohol brought to me. And not to mention, not only did it do that, but it brought me a sense of calm as well, because it was acting on those GABA receptors. And, it was like a one-stop shop. It was a fix-all for everything for me. It helped me with my anxiety. It helped me with my depression. It helped me feel more euphoric and happy. It gave me energy, which I needed. And another thing that alcohol did for me as well, and I don't think I've ever really spoken about this, but alcohol worked as a great painkiller for me. I remember one time I had to have surgery on the inside of my leg. I had a cyst on the inside of my leg that had gotten infected. And I just woke up one morning and I felt something on the inside of my thigh. I had this huge knot in there. And, once again, I was that guy that never went to the doctor. I just refused to go because I was afraid of what they would tell me. So I went to work that day and, went throughout the day of work, came back home, looked at my leg, and it had gotten bigger. And, thought nothing of it. I figured it was just like a pimple or something, or a boil or something like that, and that it would go away eventually. Well, a few days later, not only had it not gone away, but my whole entire leg had swollen up. And I just ignored it, and I went to work that day. And when I got to work, I worked, through lunch. And I was back in the prep area because, I've talked about this, but I worked in the kitchen. I worked in a restaurant my whole entire life. And I was talking with one of my prep cooks at the prep table. And I felt something wet running down my leg. And if this stuff like this grosses you out, just skip forward about a minute. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I felt something wet running down my leg, and I wasn't sure what it was. So I went to the bathroom, and I pulled my pants down and took a look, and it was blood pouring down my leg. And that cyst that had grown, it had gotten to about the size of a golf ball at this point now. It had burst. And there was blood pouring down my leg and pus and all this stuff, and it smelled horrible. So I quickly cleaned it up really fast and went and told my guys I gotta go. And I left and I went to the doctor's office. I went to the doc in the box. And when I walked in there, they took me straight to the back. I showed the doctor what was going on. He took a permanent marker and drew a line around it, like a circle around it, and told me that I needed to go directly to the surgical center, which is right beside the hospital now. He said that, I don't remember what he said it was, but he said that the infection had gotten really bad, and he was worried it was going to get into my blood. And he said if it did, it was going to end up being a very, very bad problem. So he told me I need to go over there immediately, and they're going to have to do an emergency surgery on that cyst. So I went into the office, and the doctor had a table, like a stainless steel table, right there in his office. And he told me to get on it and lay down, take my pants off. I took my pants off, laid up on the table, and he proceeded to do surgery on my leg while I was wide awake. He just gave me local anesthesia, and he cut a hole out of the inside of my leg, like, I'm not joking, about this big around, about the size of a golf ball. He cut this big circle out of the inside of my leg and scraped out all the infected tissue that was in there. And what he ended up having to do was he ended up taking a bunch of gauze and shoving it into that hole. And he told me, we cannot sew this back up because there was so much infection in there. We're going to have to let this close up on its own. And you're going to have to keep pulling that gauze out and replacing it every single day and cleaning the area very, very well. So he prescribed me a really strong antibiotic, and then asked me if I would like to have some pain medicine. And I was very afraid of pain medicine during that period of time. I already had a problem with alcohol, and I had known a lot of people, had a lot of friends who were addicted to opioids. I was afraid of them. And it's just one of those things. I never really played around with pills, and I told the doctor no, that I didn't need them. And because, for one, I was afraid to drink on them. I knew that they caused respiratory depression if you drank on opioids, and I was not going to miss drinking. So I decided I'd just take some Advil and I'd drink alcohol. And I went to my brother's house after I had that surgery, and when I got there, the local anesthesia started to wear off. And when I'm talking about it hurt, it was really, really hurting me bad. But what I ended up doing was I just took 2 Advil and started drinking liquor. And not much longer after that, the pain was gone. And I drank the pain away from that surgery for like the next week because it hurt bad. And I'll never forget the next day. The next morning, I had to pull that gauze out and had to get my wife to help me to repack it. And I was in the shower trying to get the gauze wet because it had like dried up and was stuck inside of that hole, and I had to get in the shower to get it wet before I could pull it back out. And I pulled that gauze out, and I'll never forget, I just hit the floor and started crying. And my wife had to repack it, and I'll just never forget how bad that hurt. So what did I do that morning? Popped 2 Advil and had a couple liquor drinks, and guess what? The pain went away again. I used alcohol as a pain reliever for every single thing that was wrong with me. I always drank when I was in pain. And let me tell you guys, it always worked for me. So I know that alcohol was hitting those receptors for me. And I know that's one of the reasons that I became so dependent on alcohol, was because I was highly, highly susceptible to becoming an alcoholic, and had no idea that actually played a role, and that alcohol was actually hitting those receptors in my brain. And it was. And once again, if you're watching this video today and you're new to this channel, and I talk about alcoholism and all the health consequences that have come along with my drinking. I drank my whole entire life. I'm about to be 45 years old, and I found out when I was 42 that I had cirrhosis of the liver, and chronic pancreatitis, and a whole bunch of other things, because I wasn't aware. And I just never went to the doctor, for one. I never sought help. I just kept drinking. And the reason I'm talking about this today is that if you're watching this channel and you're new to this, and you're trying to decipher if you might have a problem with alcohol, or if you're this type of person, once again, when you drink, do you get super excited and wound up and get a lot of energy when you drink? If that's the case, please be careful, and really consider quitting drinking and not drinking anymore. Or if you aren't a drinker, stay away from it in general. If you have drank in the past and you got that response from the alcohol, stay away from it, because that is indicative of you being highly susceptible to becoming an alcoholic, because the alcohol affects us differently. We're all made up different, and different drugs affect each of us differently. Some people enjoy taking one type of drug, and some people, they get a complete different response from it, and it doesn't make them feel well. For me, when I drank, it made me super euphoric. I got tons of energy, and I just felt great. Where some people will have one mixed drink and they get an allergic reaction, their skin breaks out in the hives, they feel sick to their stomach, people throw up, they get a headache, they just don't feel well. That works for every other substance that's out there as well, cocaine, whatever it may be. And my point is that if, in fact, you've drank in the past and it made you feel that way, stay away from it. Just stay away, because you do not want to end up in the grasp of alcohol. The thing is with alcoholism is that it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something like you go out to a party on a Friday night and by Sunday you're an alcoholic. It doesn't work that way. The way that it works is that you go out for a party on a Friday night, you have some drinks, you feel really, really good, so you do it again the next week, and then you do it again the next week. And within a year, you've been going out every weekend, have some drinks, but you're still not quite there yet. And over a couple of years, you don't notice what's happening as time goes on. Your tolerance starts to increase. Slowly but surely, your tolerance increases. And it's so gradual that you're just not noticing the changes that are happening. And as time goes on, your tolerance increases slowly but surely. Your body starts to become reliant on the alcohol. And after so many years, or after so much time, before you know it, you try to go a day without drinking, and all of a sudden you realize, oh no, I'm having withdrawals right now, and I don't feel good. and why are my hands shaking, and why do I feel so bad, and why do I have such a bad headache? There are just so many things that come along with the withdrawals. You just don't want to end up in that place. I can promise you when I tell you that trying to quit alcohol is not an easy task. It is very, very, very difficult to do so. And there are a ton of people here on this channel who have become sober. And I can promise you that each and every single one of those people that are here on this channel that have conquered the alcohol and become sober, it was not an easy journey to get there. There are relapses that are involved in it. You get a certain amount of time underneath your belt and you start to feel comfortable, and you trick yourself into thinking that you can have a drink again, that you can control it. And before you know it, after a day or two or three, you're right back into the throes of it all over again. And then you have to start over again, and then starting over again, and the process that goes along with that, and how tough it is to start over again. It's mentally exhausting trying to get over this. So why start now? If in fact you get these kinds of reactions when you drink alcohol, please stay away and don't drink, because like I said, it's very sneaky, and it's not like alcohol is an overnight thing. It doesn't just happen in one day. It happens over time, very slowly and very sneakily, and before you know it, you try to not drink one day and you're not in a good place, and you become very ill, and then starts the process of trying to stop from there. And it's not easy, and usually what ends up happening is that we try to stop, and we just can't handle the way that we feel. And the one thing that will bring us back to homeostasis again and make us feel normal is the alcohol. So what do? We go back and we drink again, and we get stuck in this perpetual loop that we just can't get out of. So why put your foot in there to begin with? That's why I want to talk about this video today, is that for anybody out there who, if you're wondering if you have a problem with alcohol, or you're wondering if you might be susceptible to addiction, heed my warning. Please do so. If in fact you get that kind of excitability, euphoria, and just overall feeling of well-being when you drink, and you just feel like you can just take on the world and there's not a problem in the world, that right there is a number one sign to tell you to just stay away. But anyway, guys, I really do appreciate you watching for today. And once again, if in fact you do get that kind of reaction when you drink, don't drink anymore. Just stay away from it. If you haven't gotten to the place where you have become addicted, just stay away. It's not worth it. There are so many people here that will validate what I'm saying right now and tell you that drinking, it destroys lives. It destroys everything in its path. Not only does it destroy our life, but it destroys other people's lives and everything else that comes in its path. It's such a destructive drug. And one of the hardest things about quitting alcohol is that it's not like street drugs. Alcohol is everywhere. The temptation is everywhere. It's so hard to get away from. It doesn't matter where you go. It's so easily accessible. It makes it almost near impossible to quit. So once again, if you get those kind of responses when you drink, just stay away from it. It's not worth going through this lifelong battle that so many of us here have had to go through. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. And until tomorrow, I will see y'all then. Y'all have a great day. Bye.